All right. Peace, sunshine. I hope you are doing well today. And welcome. This is going to be the first session in which we are going to decode your birth chart. Now, in this session, right, we are going to be discussing first through the sixth houses. Now, the first house up for discussion is the first house, right? Also known as the rising sign or the ascendant. Within the houses, the first, the fourth, the seventh, and the 10th are of the most important houses. They carry a tremendous amount of energy with them and have a great influence and impact within the life. And thus, they, in a sense, are kind of given the same recognition as the planets, you feel what I'm saying? Because of how impactful and influential they are. So, the first house is the house that is naturally associated with the sign Aries. And Aries deals with the ego, it deals with the I am, you know what I'm saying? It's the first sign, right? It's very self-centered, self-associated, and it's very much the first house. The houses, they deal with the different departments of your life. Now, the first house, it deals with your own, like your personal life, right? It deals with your personality. It deals with circumstances and conditions that you handle and deal with where your personal life is concerned. And one of the ways I like to explain this is like within life, right? We go through experiences, and every single experience, in a sense, is multi-layered. Even when it comes to the sun and the first house, the sun deals with like the character, right? The energy that you are building up, that energy you're comfortable with relaying and showing others. But then the first house is like the personality, which has to operate from that character that's being built. You feel me? So I hope that makes sense to you. First house, amongst dealing with the personal life, things that encompass the personal life could be like, one's health, for example, one's body, how one, in a sense, carries oneself. And whereas the sun and the moon deal with like the personality and the character with the more active functions, the first house is kind of just who you are when you are in your elements, when you are moving around in the world, for example, and you're not trying to act, right? Action is like the sun, where you're not reacting, which is like the moon. The ascendant is just who you are as a person, you feel me? And so, first and foremost, your ascendant is within the sign Taurus. But interestingly enough, it's 28 degrees Taurus. So that means 2 degrees of your first house are within the sign Taurus. And then the rest, the 28 degrees of your first house, is within the sign Gemini. So essentially, what all this means, hold on, let me check something real quick. I gotta be mindful of the time. I'll be doing 2 recordings for this session. That's what I was checking. But anyways. So because of this, because the cusp sign is Taurus, Taurus is more powerful than the Geminian energies manifested within your personal life. It's like the succession of the first house. It's like where all the energy is. I hope that makes sense. So beyond just Taurus, you have your first house within the mastership decan of Taurus. This decan of Taurus is signified within the stars by the constellation Auriga, right? But furthermore, this decan is a combination between the Venetian energy and the Saturnian energy. because this deacon is like a Taurus Capricorn mix. You feel me? So within this energy, there is a great aspiration towards like acquiring status and career like recognition. You feel me? Because that's what Capricorn is. Capricorn is the sign that deals with the 10th house, right? The 10th house is very much the house of reputation, status, career, making something of oneself. Now, the sign Taurus in of itself is the sign of money. It's a sign in general of valuable possessions, personal possessions especially, you feel me? Taurus is a fixed sign. It's a fixed earth sign, meaning it's very stubborn. We can say it's very rigid and very fixated, and that rigidity and fixation manifests especially tremendously about you or through you because you have both your sun and your moon. I mean, your ascendant and your moon in a fixed sign. And because Cancer is within, because your sun is within Cancer, but because the moon is in the fixed sign, even the Cancerian energy is somewhat influenced to be rather fixed. And we'll get more into your moon and your sun later. Now, the thing with Taurus is the cool thing with Taurus, because it's the first sign, the earth signs, and it belongs to the first emanation, they're very much inwardly focused, if what I'm saying. Taurus very much is concerned with one's personal possessions, one's personal values, right? Meaning that Taurus is not just, physical possessions, but it deals with, for example, skill sets and things like that that you may value, so it's just in general personal values. Furthermore, because it belongs to the first emanation and it's more inwardly focused, Tauruses typically have a natural aptitude towards like psychicism and spiritual phenomena. So even though it's an earth sign and it deals with practicality and it's very grounded, right? And it's like formula orientated, A plus B equals C type energy. Nevertheless, it in a sense, because it rules the senses, I guess you can even say, it has an ability to reach like the boundary line that separate the physical senses from the spiritual senses. Taurus being an earth sign, being the first sign, it's also very connected to nature, for example, and Tauruses typically have a innate ability to work with Mother Nature and her elements and, like occult sciences as well. And it also has to do with the polarity between Taurus and Scorpio. There is a little bit of like the opposite sign within all signs, you feel me? In the sense that there's a little bit of Scorpio within Taurus and a little bit of Taurus within Scorpio, because that's their balancing point, right? Scorpio has to learn to become more like Taurus, and Taurus has to learn to become more like Scorpio. Now, in general, with this energy here, it does make you very hardworking as well. Taurus, it rules the throat, it rules the tongue, it does. Taurus rules the tongue, Mercury rules the tongue. But they rule the tongue for different reasons. Mercury rules the tongue because the tongue is like the greatest organ, for communication. Meanwhile, Taurus rules the tongue because of taste, right? Because Taurus is very sensual. Taurus ruling the throat and like the vocal cords. Because of this, typically Taurian individuals have a very recognizable voice or very valuable voice. Like there's something beautiful about their voice, right? And this can be maybe when they talk, it's very soothing, or maybe when they talk, um, people love to listen because it's musical, like not even talk, sing, right? So there's something typically that manifests with Taurus and the voice. And being ruled by Venus, Taurus is also very musically inclined. Feel me? Now, furthermore, Taurus is a sign that also rules the base of the brain, right? It rules the base of the brain, those parts where, in a sense, repetitive muscle memory orientated thought, I mean, movements and actions are stored, right? And thus, because also the fixed sign, it's an earth sign, Tauruses can express tremendous endurance, a tremendous ability to persist and persevere in, for example, the accumulation of wealth, right? And within the energy of Taurus, like you can learn a lot about wealth acquisition because Taurus is typically very patient. Taurus is very thorough, very practical. Taurus understands that, like, it's a process to accumulate wealth. And that's just in general the Taurian energy. It understands the process. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, I think it pretty much is like the Taurian energy. And then you gotta add in that Capricornian influence, which exalts Taurus towards whatever craft Taurus is in, wanting to become a master of that thing, wanting to, like accelerate or like grow in status in that thing. It's the deacon of mastership. Yeah, and so with there being the Gemini energy also present, it kind of indicates that there are dormant energies dealing with your personal life and personality that deal with a, we can say, flair for a desire to communicate and somewhat of a flexibility and changeability that is also there, but it's somewhat more dormant where the Taurus energies are reflected, because Taurus and Gemini, they're somewhat contradicting energies. Like air and earth is just contradicting energy. Because earth is heavy, air is light. But yeah, that's pretty much the first house, the house of the personality. And so this house is also ruled by the planet Venus. And when we get into Venus, I'll kind of circle back and talk a little bit more about your first house according to the energies of where you have your Venus. Because Venus is going to influence and alter it. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, so now let's get into the second house. So as far as your second house is concerned, hold on, give me a sec, I'm checking right now. I know off the bat that your second house is within the sign Gemini. And so first and foremost, with it being within the sign Gemini, right? This indicates that hold on, I'm looking. Yeah, it's within the sign Gemini, and you have Mars in that house, which is very interesting, right? Mars is the planet of energy, activity, execution, ambition, things like that, and with it being within the second house, there's a lot of energy going into the second house. You feel me? Which is the house, like energy and initiative also going into the second house, which is the house that deals with personal possessions. It is traditionally ruled by the sign, Taurus. Yeah, it's traditionally ruled by the sign Taurus. And so with you having your second house within the sign Gemini. What happens here is ideas and thoughts, and even the mind, in a sense, becomes something of value. You feel what I'm saying? Because beyond just being the house of money, it's the house of personal resources and general. So, with you having the second house within the sign Taurus, well, first and foremost, indicates that the way you go about the acquisition of wealth is Geminian, and it's not even the acquisition of wealth. That's more of a sixth house thing, but it's more like once you have the wealth, the thoughts that you think are Geminian. First and foremost, Gemini is very, very, very fast. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very fast. If you ever observe Gemini, right? If you catch them in their element, typically you can catch them talking very, very fast. Geminis tend to walk very, very fast as well, but the point here is speed. And with money, there can be a tendency of speed, right? Where as fast as the money was acquired, there may be this tendency of spending it even faster. But the thing with the Geminian energy is it deals with intellect, it deals with logic, it deals with planning things, acquiring information. And so it's also the sign of like business, e-commerce, and business and e-commerce. So typically Gemini has a innate ability to draw and attract money because they put mental forces into work. They think about money and acquisition and things like that, and because it's something they put effort into thinking about, they acquire it. You feel me? And the energy of the second house is very much backed and supported by the first house, which is in the sign Taurus, because your personality is somewhat already centered in personal possessions. It makes sense that it's something you find to be of value to think about, to consider, and things like that. So it's of paramount importance to ensure that you kind of keep track with the Geminian energy in regards of making sure that you don't allow worry energy to get the best of you, in the sense that Gemini can be a worrisome energy because it overthinks, right? And it's important to learn, and I'll be getting into this later, right, for you, because understanding your birth chart is only the first step into astrology, right? Alchemy and esoteric psychology, those are like the next steps into astrology. So all branches of astrology. But essentially, I was going to say it's of value to learn how to direct and control your thoughts as far as money is concerned, right? And ensure that you're not too worried or too concerned, but you're more so directing thought energy towards the accumulation of more wealth and things like that, because it's like being into psychology. I'm pretty sure you're aware that the image held in front of the unconscious mind is where action is initiated, right? So when we have certain thoughts of worry, certain images of worry manifest, and then we start to act in that way. But yeah, so it's like the second house, you know what I'm saying? Very Geminian. yeah, I'll leave it at that. And so with that being said, like, this can even probably be an indication that you may have some qualities of communication that you may hold valuable. So communication abilities may be something that may be of value to you. Next is the third house. So as far as the third house is concerned, let's check it out. So the third house is within the sign Cancer. And so with you having your third house within the sign Cancer, this indicates that well, before I say what it indicates, let me get into what exactly the third house is. So the third house is the house of thought, right? First and foremost. The third house deals with the mental environment, right? It deals with how it is that like your mental environment looks like. It deals with immediate also. So the third house is a house of the association house, and it's traditionally associated with the Gemini energy. Gemini is the sign, an air sign, and all the air signs are signs of association. And so Gemini is the sign of association that deals with intimate personal associations, the most intimate, and that is the associations that you have within the mental plane. This is the house that deals with your thoughts and which thoughts you are associated with. In the sense that when we are looking at the third house, it's a value to, in a sense, personify your thoughts and understand that, right, the certain thoughts you allow yourself to associate with are either friends or foes to your well-being. You feel me? They can either benefit you or bring detriment your way. So the third house not only deals with the inner environment, the conditions that dwell within your mind, that deal with your thoughts and things like that, but simultaneously, the third house also deals with your immediate environment. This is because your immediate environment, both the third house and the fourth house, because the fourth house, right, is the house of like the home life, companions as well. But the third house, dealing with the immediate environment, has to do with the fact that your mind reflects itself within your environment. To rephrase, your environment is but a reflection of your mind. You feel me? Now, first and foremost, a little bit of more context into the third house. The third house also deals with siblings, because those are like the first immediate associations that you'll have. The third house also deals with your neighbors, because they're close to you. In regards to associationship, it deals with like your classmates back in the days of school, because third house also deals with education, K through 12 education. It deals with writing, It deals with communication. It deals with transportation. Just other things the third house also deals with. You feel what I'm saying? But the first, second, well, the 12th, first, second, and third, all these four houses are personal houses, and they deal with personal things. And so the third house is the house that deals with well, we already said what it deals with, right? It deals with your personal environment and your inner environment. So with you having your third house within the sign Cancer, the sign of emotions, the sign of feelings, and if I'm not mistaken, you have your sun in the third house. It indicates, well, the sun being in the third house, the planet of vitality, and the planet, well, it's not a planet, but in astrology, for technicality reasons, we consider it a planet. The third house, the sun in the houses expresses in vigor, right? Vigorness, meaning tremendous energy and activity. So off the bat, this indicates that where your mind is concerned, there's a lot of mental activity going on. And we'll get more into that when we talk about your sun. But ultimately, with your sun with your third house being the sign Cancer, the sign Cancer is the sign of emotion. It is the first water sign. It is the most personal of the water signs. It belongs to the first emanation, right? Being the first water sign, what this means is this is a sign that deals with your personal emotions, your feelings, right? And it also deals a lot with your home life, your upbringing, your childhood, your relationship and dynamic with your mother, in a sense. And it also deals with the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind, rather, I should say, right? The subjective mind. And so this is an indication that a lot of your thought patterns are subjective. They're from the subconscious. They're more influenced by emotion. You feel me? I wonder where your Mercury is. So you have Mercury within the sign Leo. That's very interesting. But yeah, pretty much that's like the third house. With you having the third house in the sign Cancer, it indicates that a lot of your immediate thoughts are rather inspired and influenced by emotions and feelings and subjectivity rather than objectivity. So with that being said, it's of paramount importance that you have some sort of like evaluation system, whether it's journaling like in the morning, or whether it's sitting down and meditating, or going out on a walk, on a swim, even cooking, I think is good. I think cooking maybe I think cooking may be like the best. And yeah, it can be the best, but any type of meditative activity that helps you, introspect and observe your thoughts and kind of get on a rampage, not even a rampage, but a wave of thinking where you're like, okay, so X, Y, and Z, not even X, Y, and Z, but more like observing your thoughts and really understanding the root of that thought. Like maybe you may think a certain way, and that thought is really backed by a feeling, and so you want to observe the thought. And the whole point is to kind of regulate your emotions and your feelings through the observation, the thoughts that you're thinking. And it's kind of deep because your moon is in Scorpio, right? So you'll be having deep emotions. But rather than thinking of this activity as a path towards emotional security and stability, more look at it as a path towards getting a grip of your immediate thoughts and their natures, but understanding that a lot of your immediate thoughts are inspired by emotion. So taking emotions and feelings, so taking that approach, you feel me, when you are introspecting, asking yourself how you feel today, asking yourself why you feel the way you feel. But yeah, it's pretty much the third house. Now let's get into the fourth house. Okay, so as far as your fourth house is concerned, your fourth house is within the sign Leo, and also you have this planet Venus within your fourth house, which is a plus, most definitely a good thing. And so, with you having the planet Venus, within the fourth house, what this indicates, what this means, is that there is rather an increased amount of harmony and benefic energies where familial companions are concerned. Now it does get a little bit complicated because you have your moon, which is in the fourth house, right? Your moon, which is in the sign Scorpio. And when the moon is in Scorpio, usually it kind of signifies for lack of a better term, a horrendous upbringing. Like a upbringing of like pain or transformation, or just this unusual origin story of, being like an orphan, or having like both the mother and the father died, and being raised by like your auntie who was so mean. It's not funny. It's just the examples I'm giving. I think they're funny. But anyways, that's the moon, it signifies, when it's in Scorpio, kind of signifies these experiences within the home, within the development of the child, which were rather transformative and hard, you feel what I'm saying? But with the fourth house being in Leo, within the sign, within the planet Venus, I'll elaborate on what this means. And I shouldn't be talking too much about Venus right now, because we need to save that for when we are discussing like the planets, right? So first and foremost, the fourth house is a companion house, right? It's not a personal house like the first, second, and third. The fourth house is a house of companionship. Specifically, the fourth house deals with the companions of the home. First and foremost, Leo, right? Well, let me also talk a little bit more about the fourth house. The fourth house is also considered a psychic house. It especially deals with the unconscious mind. It deals with experiences you had within the home life that, in a sense, dwell unconsciously but still have an influence, that still have channels into your life currently. You feel what I'm saying? So that's like the fourth house, which is in the sign Leo. So it's also a private house, you feel what I'm saying? The first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, these are all private houses that we're going to be covering today. And then when we get into like the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, these are more public houses. But anyways, with you having your 4th house within the sign Leo, Leo is the sign, the identity. It's a sign like Aries that also deals with the ego. Now Leo is the second fire sign, right? So now we are getting into second emanation energy, because after Leo it's all second emanation energy. Then after Sagittarius it's all third emanation energy. As far as the second emanation is concerned, it is a conduit between the inner realm and the outer realm. It's kind of a modification type of energy, you feel me? Aries, when it came to existence, kind of didn't have an outward fire example or expression to look at and modify its energy according to it. But Leo does. Leo can look outwardly and look at Aries and see what Aries is doing and kind of pull inspiration from Aries, etc. So the Leo energy in general is very concerned with other people. It's a both worlds, right? Leo are very much driven by their feelings, right? And the thing about a feeling is, rather I should say, it's whereas Aries is more driven by its head and its mentality and its logic, Leo is more driven by its heart. And the thing about the heart is it can be pleased, right? It can be influenced by others and things like that. So as far as your 4th house is concerned, there are, like, rather than saying 4th house, as far as your upbringing and your companion of the home are concerned, they have a great influence upon you, upon your being as a person, and especially upon your identity and how you see yourself, and in a sense your pride, your self-confidence, your self-significance. They're all very much entangled and connected to the upbringing, your experiences in your home life. Not only when you were a child, but till this day. You know, the experiences you have at home, the companions you have at home, whether that's, let's say you have children, right? Right, let's say you have children, right? Or let's say you have like a roommate sort of situation and you're very close with that roommate. Like that also is a 4th house companion, right? Those individuals have great influence over your character and who you are as a person. But furthermore, where your 4th house is concerned, Leo is very creative energy. Leo likes to show off, right? It's pride. On a more technical aspect, this may signify that where your house is concerned, you may invest a lot of beauty in, especially because Venus is there as well. You may even possibly be a great, like, designer of home spaces, right? Like you're good at putting things together and etc. But furthermore, your identity is very much reflected within your home life. This is very, very interesting because the 4th house is connected to the sign Cancer, but Leo is connected to the sun, right? And because the 4th house is within the sun, because the 4th house is within the sign Leo, your sun is your second 4th house ruler. Your first 4th house ruler is Venus, because Venus is in the 4th house. But your second 4th house ruler is the sun, because the sun rules Leo, and thus through its affinity to Leo, it rules your 4th house. So this can be an indication even that you may be a private person who enjoys more so to express yourself behind doors in the private life, you feel me, rather than out and about expressing yourself. So this can be like somewhat of a concealed type of energy where it's like when we're behind doors, you may be more lively, more entertaining, more fun, and things like that. Yeah, and with you having Leo in the 4th house, something about your identity, something about just who you are, also has this home vibe, home feeling about it that brings people comfort, because Venus is very much comfort. Like the moon is comfort, but Venus also is like ease, security, comfortability. Venus is comfort but through Taurus, right? Like, for example, having physical beauty, so they're making people feel comfortable in that channel, or having tremendous amounts of resources and thus making people feel comfortable in that sense. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, pretty much, like that's the 4th house energy there. Now, that's that department of home, you feel me? I mean, that department of life. There's a lot of pride energy there as far as the home is concerned, as far as companions of the home is concerned. And your identity in of itself may be very much entangled with your home life. You feel me? And I think I'll leave it by saying that it's important, especially because you're a sun in Cancer, it's important that you observe and become aware of the certain beliefs and perceptions about your identity that you cultivated when you were a younger child. And you are 40 now, and you have tremendous knowledge about psychology. So I wouldn't be surprised if you kind of got ahead of yourself, not ahead of yourself, ahead of me, and already dove deep into your identity, who you are, and how your upbringing and the experiences you had as a child have molded and shaped you to become who you are today. But furthermore, let's look into your 5th house. And like I said, like when we get into talking about the sun, we're gonna circle back to the moon, into the 4th house. We'll talk primarily about the sun, and then we'll talk a little bit about the moon. About the 4th house, because the sun kind of alters and influences the energy of your 4th house, because it rules your 4th house, but not as much as Venus rules it. But anyways, next is your 5th house. So the 5th house is the house of, it's the house of intimate relationships. Well, the 7th house is the house of intimate relationships. The 5th house is like the sex life, dating, you feel me? Things that may not be so serious, but they're still intimate, you feel what I'm saying? The 5th house, alongside dealing with one's sex life, one's dating life, it also deals with it, like how one, in a sense, entertains themselves, entertainment. It also deals with offsprings and children, which shouldn't be a surprise, right? Because from sex we get children. And the 5th house also deals with creativity, one's creative energy, the department of life where one is most creative and expresses themselves the most creatively. You feel what I'm saying? 5th house. So first and foremost, you have your 5th house within the sign Virgo. So in a sense, with the 5th house being within the sign Virgo, what you may consider to be fun may be boring to others. Let me explain. Well, not quite, because your Mercury is in Leo in the 3rd house, and Leo is the sign of fun. Leo rules the 5th house, you feel me? So, and we'll get more into that later when we talk about your Mercury. I'll cycle back to your 5th house, which is in Virgo, and Virgo rules Mercury. Mercury rules Virgo. That's why we would circle back to it. So Virgo is a very rather serious sign. It is the sign of it is the sign of practicality. It's the sign of perfection. That's the P word I was really looking for. Virgo very much deals with things being precise, things being like politically correct in the sense of perfection. You feel me? It's a number sign. It deals a lot with data. You feel me? Making sure that the numbers are perfect. And it's also a sign of labor and work, you feel what I'm saying? So one platform of entertainment and enjoyment that may express for you within your life is work. Like when you are working, and you are doing your labor to society, like this may be something that you find tremendous enjoyment in. And so with the 5th house being in Virgo, there can even be I was going to say a separation between a difficulty separating play and work. And I was going to go to the channel of doing more work than play and seeing sometimes work as play. But you did dress up as Santa and you did carry a huge bag. So you do bring like a lot of playful, fun energy into your work life, you feel what I'm saying? But in general, work in of itself may be fun for you. And doing something. So to get more into the Virgo energy, Virgo is like the herbalist, if you feel what I'm saying. Virgo loves health, very health conscious. Furthermore, the thing with health is Virgo becomes health conscious typically because they overwork themselves and then they're kind of forced to have to pay attention to health because they overworked themselves and they neglected their health. You feel me? So with that being said, with Virgo energy in general, it is important to understand work, fun, balance. But furthermore, to get into greater discussion, honestly, there's really nothing else to say about this Virgo energy except for the fact that they enjoy work and it's fun to them to work. And I mean, the 5th house in Virgo, right, enjoys work and enjoys perfection, enjoys getting things to be as intricate as they possibly can. So this can be like maybe the accountant that enjoys their job a lot, enjoys counting the numbers, making sure that everything is there precisely, you feel what I'm saying? Furthermore, like work may be entertaining. Children in of themselves, like the offsprings, they manifest. And so Virgo being the sign of perfection, right, and the 5th house being the sign of offsprings, there may be this innate tendency sometimes maybe to over criticize and over judge one's offsprings. And this doesn't even have to be physical offsprings, but maybe an art piece you make, right? Because it's just creative energy, and ironically creativity can manifest into a child, right? But yeah, I would say without any more discussion, that's pretty much like the 4th house energy. I mean the 5th house energy. Now we are going to get into your 6th house. Okay. So now we are going to get into your 6th house. So your 6th house is within the sign Scorpio. And if I'm not mistaken, you have your moon within your 6th house. Pretty sure you have your moon within your 6th house, but I'm gonna double check. You might have your 7th house. Or your 7th house may be in Scorpio instead. Yeah. You have a lot of activity going on within your 6th house. You have your moon going on within your 6th house. Pluto's in your 6th house. and so too is Saturn. Wow, it's powerful. And actually, your sixth house is not ruled by Scorpio. It's actually ruled by Virgo, and thus it's also ruled by your second house. My bad, ruled by Venus. I hope you can see how I kind of got that entangled, because Venus also rules your second house. Your second house is also in Taurus. But anyways, so your first house is in Taurus. You know what? Forget what I was saying. So first and foremost, right, with you having your Venus with you having your sixth house within the cusp of Libra, this indicates that the planet Venus rules over your sixth house. So let's get into what the sixth house is. The sixth house is the house of labor. It is the house of work. Traditionally, it is ruled by the sign Virgo. So within the houses, there are trinities for each house. The first, fifth, and ninth house are life houses. They deal with things that encompass the life. You feel what I'm saying? The second, sixth, and 10th house are wealth houses. They are the trinity of wealth. They deal with things that encompass wealth, a possession of money, labor that goes into acquiring money, status that comes from creating a business that's meant to make money, things like that. Then the fourth, the eighth, and the 12th house, these are psychic houses. You feel what I'm saying? So let's talk about the trinity of wealth. We already talked about your sixth house, right? And your second house, right? And we talked about how the second house deals with money, ultimately personal possessions. It, in a sense, is the custodian of your wealth, right? It is once you've acquired wealth, the thought trends and things like that come into play, right? Your viewpoint on wealth and things like that. Now, as far as the sixth house is concerned, the sixth house deals with labor. It deals with work. It deals with the energy, it takes in order for you to accumulate and create wealth. So the sixth house deals with the type of work that you find yourself getting employed into. Or if you're self-employed, then it's the type of work you find yourself having to do behind the scenes, because the sixth house is also a private house, right? That goes on to produce those tangible results of money in the second house or money in the bank. You feel what I'm saying? Now, with you having your sixth house within the sign Libra being the sign that deals with personal relationships, it traditionally belongs to the seventh house. With you having the sign Libra within your sixth house, this indicates, without a doubt, anyways, I just wanted to continue that intense energy I was rambling on about. But anyways, this indicates, right, that Libra, the sign of personal relationships, one-on-one relationships, just getting into a personal relationship with someone is the primary energy and theme that manifests within your work life. So this can be an indication of possibly you being self-employed, right? Because where the air signs are concerned, because you have an air sign within your second house, all of your wealth houses, I'm gonna double check, but all of your wealth houses have air in them. You feel what I'm saying? So this indicates that there's a lot of intellectual power and ability that goes into wealth. And so this can even be an indication maybe that you're self-employed, but maybe you're not self-employed. maybe you have been in the past, but anyways, regardless, it just indicates one-on-one relationship energy. It can be even dealing with social work, you feel me? Maybe working in a social setting as a social worker. This can be, especially with the moon. Is your moon? Yeah, your moon is in your 6th house. Especially like with the moon in the 6th house in the sign Scorpio, it can be like maybe working with criminals, maybe working like as a probation officer, or just someone who contributes help. And this can even be domestic as well because of the moon, right? But that's a whole other story because we're talking about the moon right now. In general, with Libra being within your 6th house, Venetian energy, and Venus is the planet of the social life. So the work that you find yourself attracted to or that attract you are very much social orientated. They're very much people orientated. Typically you have to deal with or do work that's one-on-one with people, you feel me? And balance also plays a tremendous role in the work that you do. Like you may be working towards helping someone acquire some form or some sort of balance within their life. Libra also deals with the public world, right? The public affairs. But furthermore, Venus also deals with people and people skills. So the fact that the fact that you have a presence in the niche of psychology that deals with relationship psychology, that's very much 6th house energy right there, you feel what I'm saying? Because that's work, right? I assume you get clients that you work with and you consult them on relationships, you feel me? But furthermore, like psychology and the understanding of the nature of people and everything like that is indeed very much Librian, you feel what I'm saying? But furthermore, with the energy of with the energy of Libra, hold on, sorry, I have to. Yeah, with the energy of Libra also deals with literature, it deals with writing, and it deals with art in general, you feel me? So it rules over that sector it just rules over literature in general, So these are all things that dominate within your work life, you feel what I'm saying? And then you have, when we get into the planets later, we'll dive deeper into this, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about it right now. Like you have Pluto, which is a planet that deals with intensity. It also deals with the revealing and the uncovering of things, right? So like the work that you do one way or another is very transformative. It may deal with the revolution psychology, right? The revolution of things that are hidden to others, or it can even deal with the contribution to welfare, like work, welfare, a welfare worker, right? Like being very concerned with the welfare of a community and doing work, social worker, we can even say, you feel what I'm saying? But furthermore, that's very much like that Scorpio energy, that that's Pluto energy in the 6th house. Like this can even be an indication of you maybe having difficulties in the past with like control and power and control as far as employment is concerned. Like maybe your employer is trying to get power and control over you and things like that, you feel what I'm saying? Now, like I said, when we get into the planets and we're talking about Pluto and like your moon and Saturn, then I'll dive deeper into it because it just makes more sense that way. It's more time efficient. I hope that makes sense to you. But without further ado, sunshine. This has pretty much been the first session to your reading, if you know what I'm saying. And we'll definitely get into your second session. I am able to do it as soon as possible for sure, you know what I'm saying. Because once I start a reading, I like to get it done as fast as possible. Because that's how you receive the most benefit out of the reading, by doing everything rather than doing certain parts. But I'm here to work with you, so if you need like a week to digest the information, I'm here. We can do that as well for sure. But yeah, without further ado, that's pretty much the sixth house, through the first house to the sixth house. I definitely look forward to hearing your feedback on this, and I'm excited to get done with the rest of the houses so we can get into your planets, because that's kind of where like it gets a little bit more juicier. Understanding the planets, understanding the houses sets the foundation, you feel me, for understanding the planets, because every single planet is ruling over and influencing one of these houses. But anyways, without further ado, peace. I hope that you are having a beautiful, lovely day. I hope this catches you in a beautiful mood. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you some more. Namaste and peace.